I'm going to show you how I made these snow globes using your common everyday supplies from out of your craft room. We're going to use the epoxy resin. This is a 24-hour epoxy resin. It has mica in it. It has gloves, pouring cups, and measuring cups. It has A and B parts so that you'll use part of one and part of another. And it even has stir sticks and pipelets. The instructions lay out every step that you can take to ensure you have the best high quality resin pour. So let me show you how I accomplished making these beautiful snow globes, and you can too. Before you pour your epoxy mix to your mold, look at your mold and you see these measurements that are written here. You can add those up so there's absolutely no overpour or mixing up more than what you need of your resin. And it's just real easy to follow that. So what I'll do is I'll add that up and get me a total, because I want to do all of my little pieces first before I do the actual globes. That's my first step in doing my resin. Another suggestion is get you a cardboard that's bigger than the mold, because your resin needs to sit a minimum of 8 to 10 hours before you can demold it, and it takes up to 24 hours for it to truly cure out. But you can remove it after 8 to 10 hours. And you want it level so that way it can heat up and do what it needs to do, and you can transport this and get it out of your working area while it sits and cures for that period of time, unless you have no need to use that area. You'll be mixing equal parts of A and B, and you have to stir them very, very slowly. Now this I got from Amazon. I'll be sure to leave you a link so you can get to it, because it is a complete kit. You'll get 16 ounces of each A and B. You'll get all the pieces that you need, and the great thing is on your cup you have your milliliters, which is commonly what it's measured by versus ounces. Be sure to use your gloves that's provided and the stir stick that's also provided. You can also use the glitter that's in there if you decide to, but we want to do all these pieces first, so that's my next step. To fill all of these small areas, I've added it up, and it's technically 19.95. In other words, 20 milliliters of the resin. So this is what you have to keep in mind. That means 10 milliliters of A and 10 milliliters of B. Remember, equal parts, 1-to-1 ratio. And if I only need 20 milliliters, then that means I have to pour 10 of one and 10 of the other. So this is your mixing cup, and you just want to have your area where if it spills, it's not a problem. And once it hardens, you can scrape it up. But you might want to cover your area with some paper before you begin. You don't want any bubbles in it. You want to stir this at least 3 to 5 minutes to make sure it's good and mixed before you pour it. You want to stir in one direction. Read your instructions and follow them closely so that you have a good pour. I've poured the resin, and it is set more than 24 hours. And as you can see, these beautiful crystal clear different things that will go inside the snow globes. So I'm going to paint them before I show you how to set them in there and pour the resin back on top of them for the snow globes. I painted up all of my little resin pieces, and I know that there's more than enough to do the snow globe. There's enough here to probably do 4 different scenes, if not more than that. Here is the thing to bear in mind. You are building in reverse. For example, if you're going to layer your pieces in there, let's say you want the tree and maybe you want the little deer. Well, the deer, if you want it sitting by the tree, you need to put the deer there and then make sure that the tree is, kind of laying behind him per se, so that he looks like he's laying beneath the tree. And they'll just give you an idea of what I'm talking about by you've got to think in reverse. whatever you want to show up front of the globe has to be in the front of the globe. So like this tall tree I have there, and I might want this larger tree, but maybe I want the rabbit and the squirrel over here together at this larger tree. And so I'm going to slide those over, and you'll probably need your gloves at this point because you will be having to put things into place and have your stick nearby so that you can work with it. And maybe I've got that little bunny rabbit and that little squirrel, and I want them beneath this tree. And then I have to bear in mind I want maybe some stars and or snowflakes even. And like this is a larger snowflake, and so he would have to go in there. And you'll be layering this, but I'm just giving you an idea of what's going to happen there and what you got to be mindful of. So maybe I want this snowflake over here, and maybe I want this star in here, and I'll put it over here, or maybe in the center. And you just got to think out before you begin putting your pieces in. And then I'll put another scene on this side. So when I get to that part, I'm going to mix up my resin and pour a little bit, and then when I start putting the pieces in, I'll show you how I'm going with it. Another thing that I wanted to also tell you about is when you're posing your scenes, the thing to bear in mind is that some of these elements can be attached to the outside of your globe. So if you really truly wanted to put all the elements on there and you didn't want to make 3 globes or 4 globes or whichever, you can definitely consider attaching them to the outside of the globe. Now, with these being done in resin, you can actually heat these up with your heat gun, and that will give the resin a little bit of flexibility. So if you needed to bend it or make it curve a little bit more, I've seen that done with the church, but it will give a little bit, so you can warm it up and get it to give a little if that was a concern, because they're really, really thin, and they're not, they can be more pliable if you need them to be. So I've posed my little scenes here, and I have 3 different scenes, and I'm pretty sure that I'm either going to go with the church or I'm going to go with the woodland, and I know I'm going to go with the woodland animals in one of them. So just pose them and just tinker with them and change them out and do them different ways. Colors and things like that make a difference. If you wanted it all white with blackening, I've seen them done many different ways. I haven't seen anybody, color theirs as much as I have mine. I've seen them use some green and some black, but I haven't seen anybody like make the snowflakes and the stars, a different color or more, with a little bit more woodland contrast. So you have endless possibilities. Now, before I forget to tell you, you have to consider these elements are going to take up space. So even though this says that it will hold, the 47 and 45, you have to bear in mind you're going to be putting pieces in there, and you may not need that much. So your first pour, you might just want to do 40, and then that way you will know then if you need more or not, and that will be easier for you to measure on your container. So just do 20 of your A and 20 of your B, and that's going to get you up to the 40. When you do your resins, if you are following the instructions, you do not whip this. You stir it gently and consistently in one direction. You don't want to change the direction. So if you started going backwards to start with, then continue that way. But you only want to stir the resin in one direction. Do it slowly, take your time, and try not to get any air bubbles in it. It's going to have some bubbles in there, but you can burst those, and it will make holes and pits if you have those little bubbles. You see those little bubbles I have in there? I will work on getting those out, so I may use my heat gun to help warm this resin up, and that will help bring the bubbles to the surface. And you'll stir this around 3 to 5 minutes even. The main thing is to stay in one direction and let it get all incorporated, and at the same time, those bubbles, most of them will rise to the surface and they'll bust. So as it heats back up, it'll cool off, and as it cools off, it'll begin to harden. I've got my deer and my one tree into place, and now I am situating the squirrel and the rabbit and trying to get them positioned, because now the bigger tree is going to go with them. And so I'm trying to see if I can get these slid down a little bit more. And then I've got to make sure that they stay. And warming up the resin with the heat gun, don't put the heat gun straight on top of it, just put it there, blow at it with the heat gun so that you can make sure that you can get the bubbles to rise up. So I may need to pour a little bit more resin in this one, but I'm going to do this one first and get it set. And I did only 40 milliliters in that, and you can see everything's well covered. It looks like the cavity is good and full, so I don't think I need to worry about it too much. There's a little bit more in here in this cup, but I still need to mix some for the other mold. So my resin has set up, bent it over, and we're going to see the great reveal. Look at that. What do you think? And I'm just going to use the mold right here so you can see how well that turned out. Now here's the fox with the tree. See how everything got displaced and floated? How it turned out. All right, let's see how this one turned out. If it got a little better. And there we go. You can see the squirrel. You can see the deer. The stars. The snowflakes. And you can see the rabbit. The tree. So that one did a lot better. And this was the one that I was actually struggling with the most. So once these are painted up and decorated, they'll be great. What's odd about this is the tree I was most concerned about raising up. But actually what happened is when this heated up and it settled, this one ended up poking up on this side. You can see it right there. That's an easy fix, because all you have to do, because that's behind the deer so it wouldn't be seen, but you can trim that off. You can actually take a razor or scissors and trim that off. And I'm going to cover these probably with some decoupage paper and paint them up. And this one right here, I'm just going to have to love it just the way it is and do the best with it. And you can still see the forest. The tree that was behind this one is this type of tree. No big deal, but you can still see the pine trees. And this just looks odd, but that is the way it turned out. It's just a matter of living and learning. And it's neat that the paint showed up, and they'll show up even better once I have these decoupaged. And I don't have anything hanging off my sides. It's just perfect. So the IOD molds are fantastic. See, that it's just perfect. There's nothing to hang off, nothing I have to cut or trim. And even if you did, it just takes just a little bit. But most time, if you get your pour correctly, they settle real good. And now I can easily just pop this off and dispose of it and get it off of the mold. And it literally just lets go. So very easy and easy to clean up. These acrylic globes that we done in the resin, I have my true snow, and another alternative over glitter is the sparkles. This is the holographic glitter. It's already in there, so you just apply it like you would acrylic paint, because it is an acrylic paint, and that'll work out really, really neat. Now here's the trick. You got to make sure that you don't go below your globe. And if you do, your front coat should cover it. So do not like overthink it or worry about it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put the sparkle on there as well. And I may actually put the sparkle on first before I put the true snow on this one. So that way it looks like the snow is glistening. I also wanted to point out that you can see a little bit of bubbles in there from the acrylic right in the side there. And they're hardly noticeable, but, you know, noticeable enough. Now, when I put this on, if you'll notice, I'm going to be careful about the perimeter of it because when it comes around, so I already know that I need to stay within this circle and not go beyond it if I can help it. I'm not like overly worried about it, but just so I mention it in case you're not thinking, maybe, just maybe you'll hear my voice saying, oh, watch out for the curve, so to speak, and be aware of it. It's a very light type of glitter. It's not real glittery. It's just that halogen. And I want to try to make these strokes as smooth as possible since I don't want to worry about is that going to show up when it dries. I think I'll leave it alone. So you can see it just a little bit. I don't see a whole lot of glitter in there. Just a little bit of a sparkle to it. Very, very little amount. I see more as it dries. So I'm going to say that that will be the case. I'm going to put it a little bit heavier here. That's where I'm really wanting that glitter to show up. I don't know if I can get any up there or not, but you know, like glitter in a snow globe, you can put glitter on this like when you pour the resin or even afterwards, like Mod Podge it on there. I'll let that settle on that. And I'm going to put some on this one as well. Now, I dried that with the heat gun. And you can see the sparkles in there. So I think it's going to work out really, really good. There's the back. There's the front. Okay, next move is I'm going to put the Aleene's True Snow down here on the bottom of this one. And it, as you know, it's kind of thick and gooey. And it probably won't take hardly none to do this. I just put that little bit on my brush. That don't look bad at all. It turned out actually pretty good. Pretty good. Now, because we know snow doesn't pile like that, let's kind of round that off a little bit. That looks better. Looks a lot better. Yep, I think it's going to be real good. I'm going to make sure I clean up this bottom right here. Now, I'm going back into my pad again, and I have a piece of the snowflakes, and it looks really good in there. It really just takes such a small amount in that globe. I mean, it's just hardly any amount. And so that looks pretty good. Not a whole lot is seen. This one I thought about actually using the print of the Merry Christmas because you can pretty much tell that that's what it's saying if you're really looking at it. And I thought that would be a nice touch. I'm going to cut these and then Mod Podge them into place. I'm just using my fingernail to kind of impress on it. And that'll help me get a right full size kind of sort of. I'll try cutting that. That'll reduce how much is on there. And then I can just make sure I put the Mod Podge just in that same area like I did the other. Because it'll be painted, so I'm not going to sweat it too much. I'm just going to put the paper on there. Now, when I lay my paper back there, I just literally take my scissors and go around here and cut. And as you can see, it's almost perfect. And did the same on this one as well. And I did decide to go with the Merry Christmas on that. And this is just your basic Mod Podge. You're going to put a coat on, put the paper on, and you can either paint the back or put another sealer on it to make sure that it stays down. So once I Mod Podge it into place, it's there, and these are so easy to work with. It's just super easy, and the snow is just amazing. That True Snow by Aleen's, that was just easy. It was dry in just a moment. It didn't take no time at all for it to dry. And once again, thin coat of your Mod Podge. Don't need to go crazy. We just want to adhere our paper on there. And make sure I place it down, and then I'll look on the front to make sure I still got it in the right place and that it's looking good. So that is just right there. And then basically I have Mod Podge on the edge of my brush, and I can take and go ahead and lay that down. And I might have to hold to it until it gets good and adhered, because there's not exactly a flat spot. You can use your enamel paint. Mine is gotten really thick. I probably have another bottle, but see how thick it is? And I don't know how well I can depend on it to cover. It's still got a lot of moisture to it, but it is getting really thick, and it needs to be used. That's the thing, is it really needs to be used, but I don't want these clumps showing up on it either. See how enamel will give you good coverage, and especially if you're wanting it to have a shine to it without a powdery look, or having to follow it with something else like a sealer or something. And so it gives a more solid coverage to your piece. And even with the enamel paint, you might have to hit it a second time to make sure it's good and covered and all, to give it that depth. I put the black enamel paint on there, and you can see the acrylic enamel has a sheen to it, a shine that looks really, really good. And I didn't have any trouble whatsoever. If you get a little black on your globe, you can easily take your nail or toothpick on this one, because it's so close in there, and get that off. I didn't have any problems with it, and you see how it pops. It makes a huge difference. Here's the other one, and how I trimmed out the top of it. You could easily put silver or white at the top of that globe. If you want to, you could add and put some scrolls or something around the top if you wanted to. I'm going to leave it like this for now. So these are dry, and we will finish off that back. We will put something on the back so that that Mod Podge paper is, covered, and it has a hanger to it. So the next thing I want to do, believe it or not, I want to take some of this Gilder's paste, and I'm going to put some of this patina on these globes, and then I'm going to use another paste wax. So I'm just going to use my finger on this to put it in certain places, and I'm just curious to see what it's going to look like. There are these little flowers on here, and I think that if I just put the patina on those flowers, it would just look so darling. And it doesn't have to be a lot, because you just barely touch that paste wax and put it on there, and it gives it a finish at the same time that it accentuates the color, and you don't even have to worry about it. You can they're paste wax, and therefore they have their own finish in them. So I think I've hit all of those little flowers that's on there. There's leaves and all kinds of things on there, so I'm just trying it out first, and I'm liking it. I am liking this look. There's little ones right there. That just makes such a big difference. There we go. Now, I like the way that looks. I hope you do too. That just really makes that paper back there pop too. Let's try going across the top edge of this piece right here. Kind of one of those, the more you do, the better it looks. And that's how you really genuinely can make something one of a kind. I'm going to turn it this way and just do the edge of those down there. I'll get that off of that where I touched there. And it just really makes it pop. Now, take that part off. I'm just rubbing that with my finger. It looks like my nail, but it's actually my finger. Okay, so there's some up through here. And let's just do the edge of them coming inward. I have enough. How does that look? I mean, it's just amazing the difference that it makes. Just that little bit on those flowers and so forth. And it just gives that little extra. Now on this one, I could probably use the patina as well and see what it does. Let's see, how do I want to do this? And let's try coming this way on those little scrolls. Make sure I rub that off up there. You have to let that sit. If I disturb it, I'll rub it off, and I don't want to do that. And I'm just letting my finger glide across there and letting it pick up that little bit on those ridges. Not heavy at all, just a touch. Like I said, we don't want to disturb it. Now, to get this bottom part, you see I'm literally sticking my finger into the paste and coming towards the piece so that I don't mess up the other piece. I just want to stay on the scrolls here. I might be pushing my luck if I go up here on this piece. Let's try going around the outer perimeter. Just barely scave it. I'm telling you, if you ever work with these waxes, you're going to fall in love with them. You're going to love them, like really love them. That is just gorgeous. Huge, huge difference. And, you know, if you wanted to do more, you could definitely do more. But I think that they look fantastic. They just give them that oldness but newness to them. They're just beautiful. Just beautiful. So let me contemplate on it and see if I want to do anything more. Gilders also has the German silver and they have the silver. Now, everyone right now seems to be into the gold in the younger generation, and it does give it that more antique look. And I've always favored silver, which would look really good too, but I think the German silver is going to be more suitable in giving that overall old look. And I mean, what's on that lid is probably more than what I need. So I'm not even going to need what's in the container as much as what's out here. So let me just kind of hit some spots here. The in-betweenst areas, like the leaves. Look at that, how beautiful. Just already looking grand. Try to hit those little in-betweens. I don't want to mess up my patine. That looks so good, doesn't it? It looks real nice. Just a very gentle, calm. And I still have a little bit of the blue on my finger and hitting these areas. There's little berries on there. Alright, let's go down here and see. about putting a little down at the bottom. As you can see, it has a long spread. What do you think? Like I said, the more you do, the better it gets. This stuff is just incredible. I love working with the waxes. That's something new I had started doing and have been wanting to do that for a long time. I'm so pleased with it. It looks so good. On the edge there, trying to make it all match. So I think that's more than enough and looking very dapper. Okay, let's see what we can do on this one. Once again, I'm still in the lid. Hadn't ever used anything in the palette yet. Okay, now let's be a little easier here. Let's do this bottom edge. And let's do around the globe. Whatever's left on my finger. Just let it hit. So what do you think? I would love to hear comments on what you guys really think about this. What your opinion is on the globes and adding the waxes and getting that final look for that ornament. They're very lightweight. These will fit on a small tree or a big tree. They are very lightweight. They're not heavy at all. They look like they would be heavy, but they're not. They're really, really light. Now I have this beautiful black cord that I had gotten from Walmart. It is the holiday trim, and it is gift trim, they call it. But this, it lays flat, and it looks very appropriate for this ornament. So I'm going to put a hanger on here, and I'm just going to hot glue it, and then I can take and put the craft paper over it, and that way it stays underneath it without poking out, and I think that will be sufficient. So right now I'm heating up that completely cordless glue gun. This is the Monvit. I'll be sure to put a link to it. I did a review on this a couple of years back, and it's really been an incredible use when I couldn't be in here in my actual craft room with everything and needed to hot glue something, especially like repairing the cat tree. That's a great example of when it came in very handy. And it takes about a minute for it to heat up, and then it is ready. There's nothing else to do but use it. And like I said, it's been a very, very handy thing to have. And right now I'm just waiting for it to heat up, and then I'm going to hot glue this in place. So now I'm just going to take and Mod Podge some craft paper on here now that is glued into place. And it only takes a thin coat to go back here. And that's just a cosmetic look, you know, just a more cosmetic look than anything. To kind of finish it is, to me, to make the piece finish, because I put a background paper on here. Otherwise, you wouldn't even do this part at all. I'm sharing it with you so that you can see every move I make in completing this ornament. And then that way, if you happen to be doing one and wanting to try this, because I haven't seen anybody do what I'm doing. I've seen them put the rub-on transfers. I've seen them paint them. I've seen them put glitter in the resin, or yeah, basically in the resin, and then pour more resin over top of it. But I haven't seen anybody use a background paper or any of the waxes. I've seen them paint them, of course. And I just dared to be different and give you something that you haven't already seen, so that you're not bored. I really want you to enjoy the channel, enjoy the things that I'm bringing to you, because most likely you guys think like I do, And I know when I look at those videos, I'm like, okay, is everybody doing the same thing? Are all the videos I'm seeing, they're doing the same thing? So I'm like, okay, you guys are not going to have a reason to come and see my channel or watch what I'm doing if mine's identical to everybody else. And so I'm trying to think, okay, a lot of people who watch my channel probably do a lot of the stuff that I do and would rather see something that they're not already seeing on other channels. And so I'm definitely different than the rest of them as far as the stuff I make. I some things are similar, but I do try to change it up so that you are seeing something different when you come to my channel. And if you haven't subscribed, will do. I try to bring you some variety on here, and we do everything from painting to sewing to decoupaging, and we'll be doing some rub-on transfers this year, which is something we haven't done, but on some gift cards. And I do work with the IOD mold, so I'll be bringing more of that to you. I've got some nice new ideas that I think you're going to love as far as ornaments go. Officially done. Stamp and all. Both looking fantastic. Some options. Another way to do these globes using the IOD Globe Mold. And all the different elements, you can change these out and make hundreds of sceneries within these globes. You can even use other pieces that aren't even part of the mold. Hope you enjoyed that. And if you'd rather purchase than to make, go to dandelionsoap.com/shop. Until the next DIY, this is Elizabeth, and I'll be crafting y'all. Merry Christmas.